Such a beautiful day today. I'm just like soaking it all in. Look at that blue sky. I'm out here in a t-shirt and I think I'm ready to start doing some spring cleanup. I'm gonna hang up some hummingbird feeders today. I got a new hummingbird feeder and then I have two that I've had for a while. So I can't wait to hang those up and see if we're gonna get any hummingbirds. I think it's a little bit early, but it's an early spring too. So we'll see if the hummingbirds are around, I guess, and we'll see how long it is before we get our first hummingbird. I'm so excited to try out this hummingbird feeder that I was sent. I love glass hummingbird feeders because I think that they are just beautiful. I have a couple others that are glass and I think they're much better to look at than the plastic ones. I also like how this one has metal parts to it so they don't break easily. I do have another one that I've had for several years that has plastic parts to it and they are broken. So being that that one has metal parts, it will definitely last longer, but I'm just going to wash these out because they've been sitting and make sure that they're nice and clean before I add the hummingbird syrup to them. I'm just doing a 50-50 water and sugar ratio for making this syrup. I know that you can buy pre-made syrups, but this is just easier for me to mix up what I've got on hand. It's a lot cheaper this way too, and the hummingbirds will love it either way. I ended up making 2 quarts of the sugar mixture, and that filled up these hummingbird feeders with only a tiny bit left over, so there was very little waste. Hopefully we'll see some hummingbirds here pretty soon. Usually the hummingbirds are actually out before I put my feeders up, but I did see somebody saying that they saw a hummingbird and they were only a little bit lower in elevation than we are, so I'm hoping that they are going to be out soon. Otherwise, I will have to replace this sugar syrup because if it sits out and they don't drink it, then it will ferment, and I don't think that they will want to drink it anymore once it has fermented. So hopefully we'll see some hummingbirds this week. I hung my 2 other hummingbird feeders on the front porch, and now I'm just going to find a spot on the edge of our yard that's not a yard yet, but it's a work in progress. I'm going to find a spot out here on the edge to hang this last hummingbird feeder. That way they're not all too close together. So I think I found a spot in this tree here. I just need to figure out how I want to hang it up. I just found a piece of wire and I bent it in the shape of an S. Right there. I was gonna put it in this live tree up here, but the branches were too close together, so I just went ahead and stuck it in that dead tree. I'm gonna keep an eye on all 3 of these hummingbird feeders and see if we don't get some hummingbirds coming in. My goal for the day today is to get some spring cleanup done. Now that the mud is cleared up, things are starting to dry out, it's much easier to get spring cleaning stuff done. So after doing some general cleanup and picking up scrap wood and stuff like that, now I'm just trying to get a fence put up around this garlic. It's just a temporary fence because this is just a temporary spot for my garlic. This is the area where I want to build my large garden, but I'm not sure exactly when that's going to happen. And in the fall, I just needed to get my garlic in the ground somewhere, so I put it right here, and now I need to put this fence around it because I've noticed that the animals have been kind of walking through it, the dogs have been laying on it, the chickens have been scratching some of the garlic out of the ground, so I'm just throwing up this quick fence to keep the chickens out of it mainly. I haven't really decided what I'm going to plant here next to the garlic yet, but I do have a pretty nice sized patch of dirt that I'm just going through and raking out so that way it's ready to plant when I do know what I want to plant there. I will probably be doing my garden in the corrals again, just like I did last year, but I can't really plant anything in there yet because we still have the horses in there and we haven't got them out on pasture yet. So that kind of limits me on planting, and that's why I had to plant my garlic over here. But hopefully we'll get the horses out of there soon so we can start getting that ready to plant as well, because this year my plan is to have a really good garden and I want to grow a lot of food for our family. This soil is very good because it is aged and it's from when we had cows. So it is just perfectly aged and ready to plant stuff in. I just need to go through and get the bits of twine that we didn't get when we were feeding hay out, but that's not too big of a deal. My plan here is to fence this whole area off. I have a small roll of chicken wire that I don't really have any other plans for. When we do build our chicken coop, we're not going to be using the chicken wire because it's just junk. If you've ever used chicken wire, maybe you know what I'm talking about. The animals can break right through it, and it's just so hard to work with. The hardware cloth or even the field fencing style of wire is so much easier to work with, and it looks a lot better when it's finished. So to throw up this temporary fence, I've just pounded some stakes into the ground. It's pretty soft here because of all this excess soil that I had dumped here last fall. So my plan is to just wrap the chicken wire around the stakes and that will be it. It's nothing fancy and it's definitely not meant to last, but it will do the job of keeping the chickens out and keeping the dogs from laying on it, and that's all I need it to do. As soon as I harvest my garlic, it will be torn down and all of this will be moved. We also have to move this pile of rocks before we build the actual garden fence here. One day our homestead will be the way that we want it to be, but it takes so many years of working at something to get to the point where you're actually happy with the way things are going. We've been chipping away at this for over 10 years and we're still not there yet, but there's been so many things that we've learned that we've done wrong or that we've made that just didn't work out the way we planned. And so we've had to do a lot of starting over, and I think that's pretty typical when you're learning how to live a lifestyle like this. And everyone's homestead will be different. It's something that you just kind of have to learn on your own. You can watch all of the video tutorials that you want, but at the end of the day, I think the best way to learn is just by going through all of the struggles and hardships and figuring out what works and what doesn't, because sometimes what works for somebody is not going to work for you. And that's just all part of it. Working with this wire was kind of a pain, and it didn't reach around the whole area like I had hoped, but it did wrap around the whole patch of garlic, and that's what I really needed it to do. Now it's time to clean out the chicken coop, which is always a fun spring project. It gets pretty dirty throughout the winter, and it's not really something that you can clean midwinter. I had just been adding fresh bedding on top of the other bedding all winter, and this is why I really like this tarp idea that I had, because I can just pull the majority of the gross stuff out and leave it on the tarp and just drag it to where I need to dump it, and it makes it pretty easy. I don't have to stand inside of the chicken coop and dig and scrape, so it definitely makes it a lot easier. Now this is pretty heavy, but I was still able to drag it out on my own without help from my husband, and this is just something that you could keep in mind if you were adding more bedding on top throughout the winter, is to just be mindful of how thick of a layer you add each time. Getting spring projects done on the homestead is always such a good feeling. Thank you so much for being here and watching my videos. If you enjoy watching, please make sure to like and subscribe. It's been a year since I've started YouTube, and it's been an incredible journey so far. So I hope that you stick around and keep watching to see what we're up to and what happens next. In the coming year, I'm going to be trying to add more faith, homestead, how-to content, and healthy eating into my rotation of content. So if any of that sounds good to you, make sure you stick around, and I'll see you in the next video.